It always starts with a no. It never begins with a gunshot. It begins with a choice. In 1958, France did something it believed was safe. It offered its African colonies a referendum. Not real freedom, but a softened leash. Stay under French control with limited autonomy, or walk away and lose everything overnight. Every colony hesitated. Every colony calculated. Every colony chose comfort. Every colony except one, Guinea. Ahmed Sékou Touré stood before his people and said what empires never expected to hear. We prefer poverty in freedom to riches in slavery. It sounded like courage, but courage always sends a bill. France did not argue. It punished. Within weeks, French administrators left Guinea. But they did not live quietly. They destroyed infrastructure, removed files, sabotaged equipment. Even light bulbs were unscrewed from public buildings. Guinea was meant to suffer visibly as a warning to others. This is how African sovereignty is introduced to the world. Not with applause, but with consequences. And Sékou Touré will spend the rest of his life paying for that first refusal. Before the bullets, there's always a betrayer. Amílcar Cabral understood something many leaders did not, that empires fear thinkers more than fighters. He did not raise his voice. He raised questions. Trained as an agricultural engineer in Portugal, Cabral learned early that colonialism did not survive because it was strong, but because it was believed. Why was Africa rich while Africans were poor? Why did colonialism preach civilization yet rely on violence? Why was Africa taught to doubt themselves before questioning Europe? Cabral believed liberation without understanding was just replacement. So he began not with weapons but with consciousness. He walked villages, studied soil, listened to farmers. He taught fighters what they fought, not just how. Because a population that understands oppression cannot be pacified. That terrified Portugal. Under Cabral, the PAIGC didn't just fight, it governed. Schools were built in liberated zones, clinics opened, civil system functioned, while colonial authority existed only on paper. Independence was no longer theoretical, it was already happening, and that made Cabral too dangerous to leave. On January 20, 1973, he was shot outside his home in Conakry, not by Portuguese soldiers, but by infiltrated members of his own movement. Betrayal sharpened by empire, he died months before independence, not because he failed, but because he was about to succeed. Portugal will lose Guinea-Bissau anyway, but Africa lost something rare. A leader who knew how to build freedom, not just declare it. Integrity is a threat when corruption is normal. Thomas Sankara did not look like power. He rode a bicycle, played the guitar, sold government luxury cars, wore the same simple uniform as his people. But simplicity cannot be revolutionary. When he took power in 1983, Burkina Faso wasn't even called by its own name. It was Upper Volta, poor, dependent, and invisible. Sankara renamed it Burkina Faso, land of upright people, because names shapes identity and identity shapes resistance. He refused the lie that Africans' poverty was natural. He rejected IMF and World Bank prescriptions, calling debt a modern chain. He who feeds you, control you. So he stopped begging. He redistributed land, farmers produced more. He vaccinated millions of children. He pushed literacy into forgotten villages. He placed women in power, condemned forced marriages, and challenged systems that treated half the population as expendable. Even his life was a protest. He publicly declared his assets, a motorbike, a guitar, a few belongings. Corruption, he said, was not a mistake. It was a choice. And choices do have enemies. At the 1987 OAU summit, Sankara asked Africa to do the unthinkable. Reject illegitimate debt together. Unity terrifies creditors. On October 15, 1987, gunfire ended his experiment. The coup was led by his closest friend, Blaise Compaoré. Sankara was 37. His body was buried in silence. His policies reversed. The revolution declared dead, but ideas did not die easily. Across Africa, young people quoted speeches they never heard leave, painted murals in cities he never visited, because Sankara proved something dangerous, that integrity was possible, that dignity didn't need permission, that leadership didn't require theft. Kwame Nkrumah, on the other hand, didn't want one flag raised. He wanted all of them raised together. One Africa, one currency, one defense, one voice. He understood fragmentation was strategy, not accident. The West saw something else, a convincing black leader, building alliances, rejecting dependency, and telling Africans they didn't need approval to exist. They called him radical, authoritarian, dangerous, but the real issue was simpler. Nkrumah was believable. At home, pressure mounted. Development strained Ghana's economy. Cocoa prices fell. Discontent grew. Nkrumah's tightened control convinced, not wrongly, that sabotage was real. And abroad, intelligence agencies were watching. In February 1966, Nkrumah boarded a plane to Vietnam, believing Africa could meditate global peace. While he was gone, the silence broke. The coup came swiftly. Statue fell. His name vanished from public spaces. No trial, no return, no goodbye. He had the news from exile. The man who gave Ghana a voice was rendered voiceless. He died in 1972, far from home. Later, Ghana will restore his image, build a mausoleum, print his face on currency. But the Africa he imagined remained unfinished. His mistake was not ambition, it was timing. And then there was Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba. He was not born into power, he was born into possibilities. Into a small Congolese village, he watched his land feed an empire that refused to feed him back. He saw education without dignity, order without justice, work without reward. Colonialism didn't just steal land, it trained silence. Lumumba refused silence. He read, he organized, he spoke. And when he spoke, people listened, not because he promised comfort, but because he refused lies. By independence, he wasn't tribal. He wasn't regional. He was dangerous because he believed Congo belonged to all Congolese. On June 30, 1960, Belgium expected gratitude. Lumumba delivered truth. Before the Belgian king, he named the violence, humiliation, and theft of colonial rule. Africa felt pride. The West felt fear. Because Lumumba had power, he demanded control of Congo's resources, copper, uranium future. But independence came rigged. The army mutinied. Belgium stayed. Katanga tried to succeed with mining interests. Watching closely, Lumumba turned to the UN. They hesitated, stalled, waited. So he made the unforgivable choice. He asked the Soviets for help, not out of ideology but desperation. That was enough. Suddenly he was unstable and emotional. In September 1960, Joseph Mobutu staged a coup. Lumumba was arrested. And in December, he escaped, not to flee but to reach his people. He believed truth still mattered. He was captured, beaten, transferred to Katanga. On January 17, 1960, Patrice Lumumba was executed. His body dissolved in acid. As if killing the man could erase the idea. He was 35. These men were not perfect, but they were consistent. They chose sovereignty over safety, dignity over dependency, truth over survival, and history punished them for it. Their removals were not accidents. They were conclusions. Because when Africa dares to stand upright, someone always reaches for the chair. And the question they left us is not nostalgic. It's urgent. Have you ever wondered, what will African leaders look like if men like this had been allowed to live?
Voice of Africa by Africans.